Welcome to the Las Vegas Review-Journal Judicial Primary Debates. Here's your host, Steve Sebelius.
Welcome to the Review-Journal's Judicial Debate. Tonight we're talking with candidates from Family Court Department Z. This is an open seat. We're going to hear from 4 candidates for this seat. First is Randall Forman. He is a staff attorney for the Family Court and a graduate of our very own William S. Boyd School of Law. Next up is Michele Mercer, an attorney with the Bowen Law Offices, practices in family law, and has served as a pro tem hearing master in the family court. She's a graduate of St. Mary's University. Next is Romeo Perez. He is the owner of the law office of Romeo E. Perez. He's practiced in family law and some other areas as well. He's a graduate of the law school at Texas Southern University. And finally, Kevin Speed. He has worked in the Clark County Public Defender's Office and doing criminal defense work, and he is a graduate of The Ohio State University's Moritz College of Law. So welcome to all the candidates, and we're going to start with opening statements from our candidates, followed by questions from me. Candidates will have 1 minute to answer. If I ask a follow-up, they'll have 30 seconds to answer that follow-up. Let's get started with opening statements. Mr. Forman, to you.
Thank you so much. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be here this evening and for the Review-Journal for giving this chance to visit with the members of Clark County to talk about our candidacy and hopefully let them get a little bit of feel for who we are as candidates. I started my legal career, like you said, here at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas at the Boyd School of Law. During that time, I was a law clerk at the Legal Aid Center of Southern Nevada, and I was in the domestic violence unit, or what was called the domestic violence unit at that time. After law school, I went to the family court where I was a law clerk for Judge Frank Sullivan and then Judge Robert Tootin. Following my clerkships, I was in private practiced at Hanratty Law Group exclusively in the area of family law and domestic relations. And then about 6.5 years ago, I was asked to come back to the court to work as a staff attorney for the family court. And that's been my current role since then. As a staff attorney, I work hand in hand with court administration on court operations. And I also get to be there for the family court judges to help them with some of their toughest cases, to talk to them about their issues, to do legal research for them when it's something beyond what their law clerk can do. I believe that I'm an excellent candidate for family court judge, and I really appreciate, again, this opportunity to visit with you this evening.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Ms. Mercer.
Thank you. My name is Michele Mercer, and I have I would like to start, first of all, by thanking the Review-Journal for this opportunity and giving the voters the ability to get to know us a little bit. It's very important to know your judges, especially when you're going to placing a vote in their favor. And so thank you for that opportunity. I've been practicing family law attorney for approximately 22 years. And I've lived in Las Vegas for 32 years. Prior to that, I lived in Texas. And I actually have 11 years experience actually sitting on the bench as a pro tem hearing master in various different arenas, including juvenile delinquency, juvenile dependency, and civil commitments, discovery, child support, and domestic violence, and also drug court. I have presided over more than 4,000 hearings, so I have a great deal of experience, and also in the trenches, as we say, as a family law attorney in private practice for many years. I have my personal...
Sorry to interrupt you, ma'am. That's time for that. We will continue on with questions in just a second. But first, Mr. Perez, to you.
Thank you, Steve. And I want to thank you and the RJ for giving us the opportunity to get to reach out to the voters and talk to people, let them know about our campaign. I'm running for family court judge because when family matters, experience counts. I've represented families for over 21 years, from intake to trial. I've helped good people at the worst time in their lives, and that's what separates me from my opponents. I've practiced in every area of family law, from divorce, child custody, child support, juvenile justice, guardianship, and even abuse and neglect. I've developed the temperament necessary to comfort my clients through those difficult times. Temperament and experience, the experience of knowing what a family goes through so I can get them closure in the end. And that's really what family court is about, giving them the opportunity to be done with us and then move on for the children, and for themselves. This is why I'm the best candidate in Department Z, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. And finally, Mr. Speed.
Thank you, Steve. And please let me take a moment for myself to thank the Review Journal for hosting these debates for the concerned citizens of Clark County. To our viewers, my name is Kevin Speed, and I want to be your pick for Family Court Judge in Department Z. My record of community service to the people of Clark County is exceptional. And since I arrived here with my wife and our 3 daughters, I've dedicated my career to making sure that the citizens of this community have a hardworking public servant who guarantees that government does its job. When we made our home in Nevada in 2002, my first job here was as a law clerk with the district attorney's office. After that, I was the judicial law clerk for District Judge Stuart Bell, and working for Judge Bell prepared me for my career first in private practice and then with the public defender's office, where I've been working for the past 16 years. I've practiced in civil law and criminal law, and I know better than any of my opponents in this race how to manage a courtroom. I will bring a real trial litigator's experience, temperament, and knowledge to the family court bench so that all parties receive a fair shot, regardless of their status. That's what I'll bring, and I promise to deliver that to the citizens of Clark County. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We're going to take our first break, but we'll be right back with questions and answers with candidates for Family Court Department Z right after this.
All your listeners and followers, the best name of any podcast in the world is podcast.
Nobody's ever done it. Nobody's ever faked
Not that we know
death.
of.
No.
When you work with Prince, you got to get used to the fact that he changes musicians like underwear. You know, like
Tom Brady. And Tom Brady, he's a quarterback in the Boston area.
I'm not sure who you're talking about.
Alexa, play my flash briefing.
Here's what's new in today's news.
Stay in the loop of the latest information in the Las Vegas Valley with the Las Vegas Review Journal Flash Briefing. Every day, we will provide you with everything you need to know in news, business, weather, entertainment, and sports. Go to the Alexa app and search LVRJ News Briefing. Then say, Alexa, play my flash briefing to hear 3 minutes of the most important information in Las Vegas.
Welcome back to the Review Journal's Judicial Debate. We're talking with candidates for Family Court Department Z. Our next question goes to Ms. Mercer. Domestic violence is an issue that family court judges deal with probably almost every day. What specific training have you had in dealing with domestic violence issues, and how would you balance the rights of visitation with the rights of children and victims to be safe?
Sadly, you're right. Domestic violence is a large issue in our county. I have a great deal of experience in domestic violence. I have trained as a pro tem hearing master and sat on the bench as a pro tem hearing master in the area of domestic violence. I've also represented many litigants who find themselves in the domestic violence court, and it is a place that's it's an unhappy place for people to be, and it's very important for the judge to gather all of the information that's available that they possibly can to get a feel for these particular parties, their history, what's going on within this particular relationship and these families, and to try to make sure that there's as much access that the children have with their parents while they're going through this extremely different time, even if it's limited in person for temporarily, or if it's through FaceTime visitations and such, as long as we can make sure that those children, the best interest of the children, are met during that hard, difficult period.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Perez, what do you think about that question?
Well, I think that domestic violence is an unfortunate part of a lot of what happens in family law. I have a tremendous amount of experience in domestic violence cases, mostly in what I've done through the abuse and neglect cases. I currently represent a number of parents in the abuse and neglect system, parents who have either been victims of or perpetrators of the domestic violence, which of course will many times have a companion case in the criminal courts. And in the abuse and neglect arena, we're looking at the best interest of the child and how do we protect the child? How do we protect the kids in these cases? Whether it be in a divorce where we have statutes that require one of the elements sets out that whether or not domestic violence or abuse and neglect has occurred upon these children or in front of these children. That is an element that has to be looked at by the court. And in determining whether or not it's in the best interest for a parent to have contact, we have to determine whether or not that perpetrated on the parent or on the child or on both. And I think that's important to balance for the child's best interest.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it. Mr. Speed.
Our question was, what experience or what training do we have in dealing with domestic violence issues? As I mentioned in my opening statement, I've spent the last 16 years with the Clark County Public Defender's Office. The first 4 of those 16 years was as a track deputy representing defendants accused, indigent defendants accused of domestic violence in the justice courts. I have a number of years and many thousands of experiences with parents who are either been accused of domestic violence or dealing with an accusing spouse or an accusing significant other for issues of domestic violence. One of the first things that I would bring to the bench is the deep conviction and the concern that the best interest of the children be placed at the forefront of any proceedings that take place in Department Z. So whatever our training, whatever our background, whatever our experience might happen to be, when we're dealing with issues of domestic violence in the family court, the first thing that we must consider, the most important factor that we must consider in making any decision as the judge, is what's in the best interest of the child. Following that, making sure that the abused spouse is kept safe and protected from any further harm.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Mr. Forman.
Mr. Speed is actually correct. The law requires that in these determinations, regardless of whether there is a domestic violence or not, the best interest of the child always controls a child custody determination. That is the law. We also have in the law NRS 125C.230, which says that if a party alleges domestic violence and then at the time of the custody trial proves that domestic violence occurred by not preponderance of the evidence, but by clear and convincing evidence, a presumption is triggered under the law. That presumption is that the parent who is the victim of the domestic violence should be awarded primary custody. That is the current state of the law. Now, the question does ask about what other rights does the parent who is found to have committed acts of domestic violence, what custodial rights should they have? What visitation should they have? These are incredibly fact-determinative decisions. I can't commit to say that they're going to have a lot. I can't commit to say they're going to have none. That's somewhere in between that. It is going to be a determination of the age of the child, the type of domestic violence. Was it stalking? Was it harassment? Was it physical abuse? These things all go into those determinations. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, it does. Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate it. We're going to be right back with more questions and answers for Family Court Department Z. Stick with us.
The Vegas Nation podcast is your source for all of your Las Vegas Raiders news. Subscribe and get fast takes and smart coverage. Download the Vegas Nation app and check out vegasnation.com to stay up to date with your Las Vegas Raiders.
For all your Raiders news, like us on Facebook, download the Vegas Nation app, and go to vegasnation.com.
Welcome back to the Review Journal's Judicial Debates. We're talking with candidates for Family Court Department Z. Our next question goes to Mr. Perez. Most judicial candidates say on their websites or in their campaign literature that they promise to treat all litigants with fairness and respect. Describe how you deal with difficult people, be they opposing counsel, be they a client or a judge.
I've been practicing for 21 years. And in those 21 years, I've dealt with my own clients where I've had to deal with difficult clients. And when clients tell me that they want something that just won't happen, it's all about being honest. It's about being honest with people and telling them what I believe I can do for them, what I believe is not going to happen. And whether that's with other attorneys, I mean, I generally, with clients, I have to tell them the truth. I've got to be honest and let them know what can happen. With attorneys, I give them my position because I'm an advocate. And as an advocate, I have to fight for my client and let them know not only what I want, but why I want it and why I believe I will win. And I believe that with judges, it's more of a situation where you have to explain from a legal standpoint why you're the basis for what you're asking for. Dealing with difficult people is not that difficult when you set your emotions aside and you simply put out your argument. You put out the reasons behind your argument, and then you win.
All right, thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate that, Mr. Speed. How do you deal with difficult people?
I've been fortunate enough to grow up in a house with a career educator. My mother was an educator both in Atlanta, Georgia, and in Shreveport, Louisiana for the past 45 years. And my father is a career military man. So I had lots of practice growing up in the lessons and dealing with difficult people, both above a person's particular rank or status at that time and below. Everything flows through the chain of command, and it did flow through the chain of command in my house. As a sitting judge, I think what's important for a person to keep in mind when dealing with a difficult person is to remember that that person is in that position or serving in that role as a community servant. He is there or she is there to do a job that's been entrusted to them by the people of that jurisdiction. So you can't go into a courtroom believing because you wear the robe that you know everything or that everything is within your power or authority or ability to control. Every person has to be treated with dignity and respect, and the judge is the first person to make sure that that happens. And that's what I would do if I'm elected to this position.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Mr. Forman, your position on dealing with difficult people.
Certainly. Personally, I've had some good experience with that in my life. Prior to law school, I worked in the hospitality industry. I worked at the front desk at Bellagio. I worked in VIP services at Red Rock here. I've dealt with some difficult people in my life. As a judge, I can apply some of those same principles that I learned in those experiences. First, you have to listen to the people. They're there with a concern or a question. They're upset. I have to be willing to listen to them and to let them know that I've listened, that I've understood their complaint and understood their grievance. In the hospitality industry, you try your best to give them what they want. As a judge, though, you apply the law to their grievance and you render a decision. And I will render a decision that's clear, that's concise, and that's easy to follow. So that when they leave the courtroom, they know that they were understood, that they had a fair shot. That's how I will deal with difficult people in my courtroom.
Thanks, sir. We appreciate it. And Ms. Mercer, how do you deal with difficult people?
This is where I truly shine. I'm very good at dealing with difficult people. I've been married for 23 years. No, not to say that my husband is difficult at all. I didn't mean to imply that. But certainly I'm very good at listening to people, and by tone of voice, by communication techniques, and diffusing the anger or whatever it is, because there's a reason that the people are difficult to begin with. They want to be heard. They want to be understood, and I get that. I understand that, and I'm very good and very compassionate as to their perspective, as from where they're coming. And then the words that you choose, the tone in which you choose them, the timing, it's all very important. I'm very good at this, and with opposing counsel frequently, I just listen to them. Well, if they're particularly difficult, just listen to them and, okay, that's fine. I understand your position, but I don't engage. I don't have to persuade them. I just have to persuade the judge. And so I'm very good at this, and I think that'll transfer well being on the bench full time.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate it. We're going to take one last break, and we'll be back with more from Clark County Family Court, Department Z, right after this. Welcome back to the Review Journal's Judicial Debate for Family Court Department Z. We've come to the end of our debate. We're going to hear closing statements from the candidates in the reverse order that we went at the beginning, and that means Mr. Speed goes first.
I've litigated nearly 40 felony jury trials as lead counsel. I've been successful in front of the Nevada Supreme Court. I've served as a truancy diversion program judge in the family court. I've served as a volunteer judge with the Nevada Center for Civic Engagement. I've volunteered with the Family Court's Ask a Lawyer program. The Supreme Court of Nevada has chosen me to serve on a select group of attorneys and judges tasked with finding solutions to bench bar issues. Since the pandemic struck, I've donated my money and my very blood to the American Red Cross and to the Community Food Bank here in Southern Nevada. All I'm asking the people for is the opportunity to serve them more. If you give me your vote this June and again in November, I'll be your pick for family court judge, and I'll do everything in my power to make sure that I've earned that trust. My name is Kevin Speed. I want your vote for Family Court Department Z. Visit my website at kevinspeed4judge.com, and thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Mr. Perez.
Thank you. Hey, folks, it's going to be a different primary with all mail-in ballots, but I want to urge you to get to the bottom of the judges all the way down to Z. Let me leave you with this. The law tells us how things are to be done, but it's up to the judge to explain those decisions so that families leave feeling that they've been heard, that they've been seen, and that they've been dealt with in a fair and balanced way. Because when a person feels like they've had their day in court, they can move on when all of the judges and lawyers are gone. I'm Romeo Perez in Department Z, and that's Z as in Perez. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Mercer.
I am passionate about serving families and children in our community. My life has kind of been like a jigsaw puzzle where when you put all of the pieces together, the big picture is revealed. And I believe that the big picture for me is that this is where I'm supposed to be, on the bench, serving the people of Clark County as a family court judge. It is the only area of law that I am truly passionate about because the stakes are so high, and who your judge is as a person is very critical and important. I'm known to have high integrity and to be relatable, discerning, and always fair. And so I also would like for you to know that I understand that as an elected official, I serve at the pleasure of the people who have hired me to do the job. And
I'm sorry to interrupt, but we're at time there. And Mr. Forman, your closing statement.
Thank you, Steve. And again, thank you to the Review Journal for allowing me this opportunity to talk about myself and my candidacy. I believe that I am the best candidate for Family Court Department Z. I have the intellect, the patience, and the demeanor to make an excellent judge. On a personal note, I am the son of divorced parents. I know what families go through in the middle of a divorce. I know how it affects our children. I know that a judge with compassion and kindness will be the best thing for Clark County. And I hope that you will consider voting for me. And to learn more about me or my campaign, please visit randallforman.com. Thank you.
Thank you, and my thanks to all the candidates for participating in tonight's debate and for their thoughtful answers. And thank you at home for joining us for the Review Journal's judicial debate. Tonight we were talking with Family Court Department Z. You can stay up to date with all the political races on the 2020 ballot on our website at reviewjournal.com. Join us again as we interview more candidates for the bench. I'm Steve Sebelius. Thanks for watching.